engaging in an SRMA review. Both Rebecca and I are SRMAs, and Rebecca, do you want to
Morning, great morning so far, yeah? Really good, okay. So I'm Rebecca Beaver of RBMA Consultancy. I work as an independent consultant to the sector, following a background of 20 years working in schools and trusts. I am also an SRMA, a School Resource Management Advisor. What qualifies me to stand here and deliver the session with Sharon? Well, I became a DFE accredited SRMA in 2019, and I've completed just over 100 deployments with trusts and schools. So I've seen lots of budgets, lots of ways of doing things. My career history spans over 30 years in business and finance, and I understand the challenge and role of being a school business professional, trust person. It's hard, it's really tough in the sector at the moment. I'm a governor of an outstanding in all areas primary school. We secured that on budget with a surplus, and when our head was off ill, having had an operation, so really proud of that. My childhood was really chaotic. 8 out of 10 aces, free school meal child. You can make a difference to those children in your setting, and I do get my voice goes at this point because I am absolutely passionate that every child in our schools and trusts gets the very best out of every penny in that budget. And the minute we lose sight of that, we should step away, because that's what it's about. And that's the reason I became an SRMA.
And I'm Sharon Thorp. I'm the Director of Consumer Business Services Limited. That's been running now for 2 years. Prior to that, it was 20 years plus experience in local authority schools and also in a MAT. And I'm currently working in a 20 plus school MAT as their CFO, covering the maternity leave. So I still am part of the sector, I'm still working within it. Also, I was accredited during the pilot scheme, so it was a very old style accreditation with the pilot scheme, and I've worked all the way through. I am a regional team leader as well for the East Midlands and the Humber. I do quality assurance assessments as well for any reports that come through. I'm also a CFO mentor, so I was part of the pilot scheme for that as well, and I've continued to do that. I haven't done as many deployments as Rebecca because I've still been out in the field, so I've done over 20. I've got 2 on the go at the moment, and looking forward to continuing to do them. And I am also a fellow of the ISBL. So I'm sure, looking at the screen, you can tell exactly how everyone is feeling. We're all on our knees, all exhausted, and you can probably feel it within the trusts and the schools as well as you're walking around. So what we'd like you to do is consider our proposal. So the theme for today was engaging in an SRMA review. So what are we not? We're not
Cost cutters.
Absolutely.
That's disappeared off the screen.
Yeah, but we're not cost cutters. We're not there to come in and say, you need to make this amount of saving. You're not running that correctly. Your minutes are not adequate. All of those things, people have heard the whispers. I've heard the whispers myself, and that's as I go around. So that's what I do hear. So imagine what I don't hear. So we're not there just for finance. It's a more holistic view. So an SRMA is exactly this. We've walked the walk. We know how you feel. We know the struggles that you're going through. And we just want to be a listening ear, a supportive text, email. We get it. And what we want to make sure is that you trust what we're saying has always got the pupils at heart, and we do use metrics, and Rebecca will follow on that later. But it's more about realigning your expenditure if there are changes that need covering. If there aren't, and there's nothing nicer for us to write in a report that you've done everything that you possibly can at this point. And we do. It's not all negative. So, put my glasses on for this, sorry. So, what do? We look at your workforce planning, the wider use of the staff and the leadership time. So we do look at TLRs, we do look at giving time off timetable when you've given a TLR and how much each of those costs, and if you could reinvest that back into the school. We look at financial management and challenge. So when we ask for your minutes, we're asking, can we just see where the challenge is, and making sure that things are not just signed off, as Andy said. Planning, so curriculum and financial planning. So trying to link the two. Procurement, looking at deals nationally and school purchasing, and if you're a trust, whether you've been able to consolidate any of that and take that forward. That's not always easy, obviously, because of different end dates, but you know that you can programme for it. So we look for value for money, and we look at your capital finance and your estate management. So there's lots and lots of variety within what we do. So the benefits of working with us. Obviously you get to see one of us. Ta-da! At the moment in the ISBL team there's just over 120 school resource management advisors. You have access to support, and we have fantastic training from the ISBL, and you get the insight from that. So as things are changing, we have regular updates, and we're able to bring that with us. It's a dedicated team supporting the delivery. Most of us have been there a period of time, so we all know each other, we all ask each other for support, so if there's an expert in some areas, we can lean on each other as well. Yeah, mentions there, sorry, the monthly training. We're a regional team lead, which is slightly different. So we each, Rebecca's also a regional team leader, and we have a group that we manage and support and train. You know, we make sure that everybody is at a certain standard. So we have national team networking. We hold a couple of summits. We go to London normally, but that was cancelled because of the election this year. But we do have an SRM summit in Coventry, normally nearing the end of the year. And we mentor and do peer reviews. So as I say, we're a really tight-knit group and we support each other. And our reports are quality assured before they go through to the ESFA, who further quality assure them. So what should you expect from us? A collaborative process. It's not a one fits all at all. We come in, we look at your context, we speak to you, we hear what you're actually saying. It's we have meetings. Through COVID, we had to do most of them via Teams, which was a little bit of a challenge for some of us. But we managed, and now we are going back out into schools and trusts to report and to gain all the information we need. So we do a review of integrated curriculum financial planning as part of our report, and then you get the benefit of receiving the actual findings. And it's an opportunity for you to talk to us, to tell us what you've achieved, the reasons you can't achieve other things. And at the end of it, you do receive a detailed report that you can use as a management tool going forward. So we always start with the context. and that's your school or trust context. And I'll hand over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Sharon. So as Sharon said, we always start with context. What's really important to us is what you're facing. What does your school and trust look like? What challenges do you have? What's your demographic? What's your level of pupils with English as an additional language? How many children do you have that have hearing, mobility, vision impairment considerations that might require additional TA time, that might require that extra support? First freebie, and it is free, I'll just point that out. The SRMA review is free. There is not a lot in this sector that we get for nothing, so it's worth it. First freebie. On the walls, you may have noticed when you came in, on the wall just there and in the networking room, there are some QR codes with links to support, links to VMFI, links to how to become an SRMA, links to what to expect from an SRMA review. Links to Sharon's website and a link to my website. So if you want to get in touch with us after the event, it's all there. I'd like to raise a question. Would it have made any difference to anybody in this room if those pieces of paper were laminated? No? Interesting. Because the amount of laminated paper that I see on the walls in schools that a TA has spent going like this. What are you doing at the weekend? Where are you going? Yeah, not telling me. Oh, I know where you're going. I'm just going to cut these out. What are you doing at the weekend? This is the reality of what we're spending our money on in schools. We then push it back through again. You know what Sharon's doing at the weekend. You know what she's told me. This is the reality of that money. Let's say Sharon was me some years ago, and I'm not going to say how many. I'm not going home to somebody that's going to read with me. But Sharon could be me. And I'm a TA, and I'm sitting reading with Sharon, and I'm sharing a book. What difference is that going to make? Not pushing laminated paper through, I'm going to sit and read. Massive difference. Actually heading books. I know what difference it makes. We explore avenues for continual development. That's what's at the centre of what we do. We fine tune, we look at your budgets, we look at your forecasting of pupil numbers, we question why you've not made adjustments for year 7, 8, 9, 10 and have only made adjustments for year 7. We find £600,000 difference when we do that. We share ideas and experience because none of us is as good as all of us. We use resources to make the biggest difference to our pupils. We look at how schools can benefit from that. We look at the fine-tuning. We look at exploring avenues. So we look at schools where they've moved from 2 buildings to 1 building and have leadership structure that was for their 2 buildings. And we question that and we challenge it. And sometimes we get that conversation brings out that, well, we need all of these people because we've got all of these meetings with parents, we've got all of these things that we've got to address, we've got all of these children that don't turn up, and we've got to sit and talk about that because it's really important. Let's get the money talking to the children about why they don't turn up before they get to that point, before we're deciding whether we're going to exclude them. So, we want to build a stronger system. We want a procurement system that works. We don't want to see a photocopying contract in school 1 of 10 paying twice as much as school 8 of 10. We want you to bring it together. We want you to get the best out of that money. Our reviews are data driven. We want to ensure that we are giving you that insight into what's coming down the road. We have meetings with the DFE. I've sat round the table with Baroness Barron and talked about the pressures of SEND on the system. We've talked about the budget pressures, but I also want to see the very best use of that money. Speaking with Andy earlier, we were talking about the fact that schools print prospectuses, nice, lovely, glossy pieces of paper. We're not marketing to the parents, we're marketing to the children. They're not interested in a glossy piece of paper. They're going to look at it on their feeds. They want a gimmick, so give them a card with a USB with your prospectus on it. Give them something different. You can use those then next year to update your prospectus. We look at strategic considerations, we look at intention. So I work with schools that are going to expand, and we're brilliant and we're great. Fab. Great plan, structure in place for it. Where are your children coming from? Because your birth rates are falling. It makes people stop and think. Does benchmarking indicate high spend? Somebody mentioned water this morning and said it's not part of our remit in Blooming Well. Have we seen that they're going to be going up by £19 per household? It's not going to be something schools don't need to think about. We do need to think about that. If you're putting 2% on your non-staffing budgets, that's not going to work. It might be that we offset it with the energy costs, but we need to be realistic about that. £50,000 on water, really? Really? A school in Worcestershire spending way above, when I look at get information about schools, way above per pupil on benchmarking. So we questioned it. I got an email within a week of going to see them, they had £6,000 back. Amazing. But when I did the follow-up review, they'd got a bill for 20 odd. And I said, you're still up there. I don't think we need to be paying this. We need to look at this again. Have a look, challenge it, get your MP involved. They did. I got an email just before Christmas, they got £23,000 back. That's a net difference of £50,000 in one school on one bill. As a teacher. So what do? We look at PPA, we look at your ICFP, Integrated Curriculum Financial Planning, so that when your head or your leaders knock on your door and say, I need 2 teachers, you can challenge it and say, why do we need 2 teachers? Our teacher contact ratio is X, and I know that we've got this capacity in the team. And they'll look at you and go, well, okay. And it might be a different outcome. Do you spend leadership time in meetings? We've talked about that. Quick wins from deployments. Involve everybody. Involve your pupils. They are savvy. They will tell you that it really doesn't make a difference to have laminated pieces of paper on the wall. And the school that I visited had their Senko just do an amazing display of flowers. No child ever went in that room. It was a meeting room for adults only. It cost them an absolute fortune. They were all laminated. We ask for evidence. Ask for evidence of what difference that money's making to your pupils. We've found subscriptions to things that the children never use or think they're rubbish or can't ever get on. Ask them, involve them. Involve your local community. If you have a cupboard clear out at the end of every year, make it a cupboard amnesty, bring it into the hall. Get your schools to bring that into the hall. Then say to the teachers, whatever you need, come and get it. They don't need it. What's left in a skip that you're going to pay for? Absolutely not. Get your community to bring the £1, fill the bag for £1, and off they go. That doesn't cost you anything. It raises money and will probably reduce what you need to spend. I've had a school who didn't need to buy any books because we did that. It makes a difference. Use your apprenticeship levy. There's loads of online tools available. We'll talk you through them. We'll help you understand them. We'll get you to look at them in a different way. If you benchmark 5 out of your group of 15 on get information about schools, change your parameters to per pupil. If you're benchmarking 5 for income, then anything above 5 for expenditure, forget what everybody else is doing, measure it against yourself. Anything above 5 for expenditure is worth a look, and that's where you'll see those differences. Context is key, really important that we look at those parameters. School business leadership is isolating, it can be. Grow your network, get in touch with us, contact us, send us an email. Help us shape your proposal. See how this is going? Engage in an SRMA review. There's a theme. Build your support network. The perfect marriage of knowledge of your organisation and fresh eyes. Grow your network and engage, and hopefully test your proposals before you move forward. That's what engaging with an SRMA looks like. This is what SRMA look like, and we'll be really happy to take any questions in the Q&A session. Okay, thank you.